you out tonight?
Just out here for the escalation of the war in Afghanistan protest. And we're just getting some banners put together here, getting our troops gathered, and we're being a 9/11 presence at this anti-war rally.
Well, we're here just so that people know that 9/11 was an inside job. It hasn't been addressed either by the Bush administration or the Obama administration, and if we don't keep the pressure up, we'll never get a new investigation into this horrendous historical moment in America that really changes everything. And if we don't know the truth to it, then we're in a lot of trouble. I'm telling you, we're in a lot of trouble.
Oh, when all the planes in America were grounded, the bin Laden family was able to go back home to Saudi Arabia. It doesn't make sense, folks. It just doesn't.
I think we should get out of these wars, and there was no point in going into them in the first place. It hurts the people domestically, and it hurts the people on the other side, basically. So we don't win in the end, so what's the point? And the Fed t-shirt, and on the back it says, "Arrest the banksters." And you can get this at Infowars.com.
Julie, what brought you out today?
Freedom. There's no freedom without peace. We need peace. We are occupying way too many countries all around the world, and it's time for us to get out, mind our own business, stick to the golden rule like Ron Paul says, basically.
Well, I've always been suspicious, so I always thought that 9/11 was an inside job. I think the most compelling evidence is the way the buildings fell. I mean, if you just look at the evidence, you see that Building 7 fell a free fall just like the two Twin Towers did, then you obviously want to question what caused this. So I think that's pretty compelling.
I believe 9/11 was an inside job. I believe it was done with criminal elements within our government, with foreign elements. I do believe there may have been quite possibly Israel was involved. Definitely the CIA. Quite possibly, it seems more of the Bush administration's involved, and obviously the banking and central banking and Wall Street interests.
Building 7 came down at 5:20 in the afternoon on 9/11. It was 47 stories tall. It was not hit by an airplane. It came down in 6.5 seconds, straight down into its own footprint. 47 stories tall, never hit by an airplane. 5:20 in the afternoon on 9/11. You can see footage of it online. Go home and look up Building 7. Why are they hiding Building 7 from you? It's not even mentioned in the 9/11 Commission report. Yet people died in Building 7. You too, young man, go home and look up Building 7, okay? All right.
After the Dodger game.
Same reason. It's been 8 years now, since 2001, and it's about time that people started to get informed, because you don't hear about this on the news, so people don't know unless they Google Building 7 or Google Building 9/11 Truth.
Well, I was always kind of suspicious from the start, but to me, some of the biggest red flags are the Pentagon and the fact that photographic evidence doesn't really show that there was a plane wreck, and that they want you to believe that one of those planes brought down an entire World Trade Center and yet only put a tiny little hole, the quarter of the size of a plane, in the Pentagon. And then also, the video footage of the plane wreck in Pennsylvania is just a hole in the ground. Again, there's no people, there's no plane. At the World Trade Center in New York, there are many reporters and witnesses that talk about explosions going on in the lobby, and firefighters talk about explosions going on in the lobby. So bombs were going off in the buildings before they came down, and that is pretty much proven. So, I mean, to me, there's just overwhelming evidence that it was controlled demolition. I mean, I would think you would kind of have to be a fool to not just do a little research, and it would be painfully obvious to you. And to me, it's very maddening. You know, it's a very frustrating thing to think that if our own government, or, you know, along with other international elements, was actually in on doing something that would kill that many innocent people for the sake of starting these wars, then that's just, it's disgraceful and disgusting and abominable. So that's why I'm here. And I think that 9/11 is very key to the anti-war movement because 9/11 is where it all started. They use 9/11 still to this day to justify the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so, you know, if you do a little research about 9/11, then that points to everything else. So that's why I'm here.
The people of this country have to realize we're losing our country, our freedoms, even at home. And I still believe that 9/11 truth needs to be investigated, 9/11, the event, because that is supposedly all things have come from that the 9/11 event that was definitely a false flag. And
I believe that the occupation in Iraq is totally illegal. I think the war in Iraq and Afghanistan are illegal. We're killing innocent women and children and old people and civilians. It's all predicated on a big lie. It's predicated on a false flag operation called 9/11. And it's time that people stood up and said no and say, I'm taking my country back because I've had it. I'm not going to allow an oppressive regime to control my life anymore.
Well, you know, I'm fed up with what our government's doing to us, and it's a controlled demolition of our country, just like 9/11 was a controlled demolition of the Twin Towers, and people just don't know what's going on. They're too propagandized by TV and the mainstream media, and among other things, and it's just pretty rude. And we're out here trying to wake people up to the truth. And that 9/11 basically was a powder keg that started these wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. And actually, they're not worth anything except we're fighting for opium and oil over there. People don't realize that the opium production in Afghanistan is the highest it has ever been in history. And 8 years ago, when we invaded, the opium production was at the lowest it has ever been. And this is all being done as part of a global corporate takeover of the world, the New World Order.
Seems to be a lot more acceptance of the 9/11 truth message, and we're not looked at like we're lepers so much. People are waking up. People are waking up. They might not be willing to take on a sign, but they're also they're being more accepting of our message. That's a nice thing to see.
Think about 9/11 happened on September 11, 2001, and on October 7th, less than a month later, they went into Afghanistan. I mean, how could that happen so fast, and how could they be deployed so fast without them knowing they were without knowing they were going into Iraq or Afghanistan before September 11th? So that war plan was written up before September 11th. So the lie that's been brought upon the people of the United States and the world about 9/11 being done by Osama bin Laden and 19 terrorists is just a big fraud.
So really, anyone in the anti-war movement needs to embrace the 9/11 truth movement, because that's the fastest way to wake people up about getting them out of war. With Obama in office, it's very difficult for a lot of people to even listen to the anti-war movement because they believe in Obama, they trust Obama. He's different. So if we're in Afghanistan, it must be for a good reason, because Obama's saying we're in Afghanistan. So he must have a good reason. But he doesn't have a good reason. He's still going back to 9/11. Going back to what happened there, Islamic extremists. We got to get to the terrorists, and that's all a lie. And our soldiers are dying, innocent people are dying in Afghanistan and Iraq, and we cannot just make excuses for that. We have to hold on to that. These are innocent people that are getting slaughtered. We cannot make any excuses for that. 9/11 truth is the fastest way to end the war, any war. So that's why we need to be here representing. And what's great is the cars that are coming down the street to the intersection see our sign first. We're going to be at every anti-war demonstration that we can make it to.